As some of you may know, I am a sucker for a good deal, and when this DeLorean presented a possibility to show up in my life, I had to take it. Like, this is an incredible car. If this is your first time watching, thanks a lot. Feel free to subscribe if you like this video and all the other videos we got going on in this awesome garage and just cars in general. What I have behind me is a 1981 DeLorean DMC-12. I've become very familiar with this after the fact, but when I was able to purchase this car, I really wasn't that familiar with these cars, as I've met so many people that are enthusiastic fans about the car, and just reading online, there's a lot of quirks and features to this car, and obviously the movie Back to the Future made this vehicle famous. It's just an iconic vehicle. It is like a piece of art. I've thoroughly enjoyed coming out here and looking at this thing, but hopefully you guys get a sense of how it is, and if you can, go see one of these in real life. It's very cool to see them in real life. But let me tell you a brief story how I ended up owning this car, and then I'll show you the condition of it and show you talk about my experiences owning it so far. Some of you may know that I work for Holley Performance here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. This vehicle was destined to be a testing vehicle for Holley, specifically EVs. Never came to fruition. A very long story short, this and several other vehicles in Holley's collection of research vehicles, just vehicles that Holley as a business owned, went up for auction. And the cool part about it is that the auction was for employees only. I actually ended up going in with this with a good buddy of mine, Brian, who I bought the Raptor from. We're like, hey, when are else are we gonna own a DeLorean? Both went in, we put a bid in, and that bid won. It was a pretty cool email understanding that we were now owners of a DeLorean, and something I never thought would happen in my life, but you never know. Life's crazy. That's how I ended up with the DeLorean. We believe it's a one-owner vehicle, and Holley owned it, and then now we own it. So the one owner was the guy that had it the entire time. Holley owned it as a second owner, and then now we're the third owners. But this vehicle is incredibly clean. Let me show you around. When we got this vehicle, it was actually in a warehouse. It'd been sitting for a couple years, so there's a lot of dust, some bird poop on it. Otherwise, it was basically a time capsule. Interior was nearly immaculate. We just need to do a thorough cleaning of it when we got it, and hopefully the video shows it. It is in incredible condition, and it's so cool to look at. So some brief information on these vehicles. What you see is stainless steel, and it's like the stainless steel you see in a fridge, but not like modern fridges. You touch this thing and fingerprints stay on it, so you literally have to clean it with stainless steel cleaner to get that off. Stainless steel body. Underneath, it's fiberglass and steel. The front and rear bumpers are plastic to kind of somewhat match. This car became very famous because of Back to the Future. There's Back to the Future versions of these cars that fetch big money, but honestly, just the regular ones fetch an incredible amount of money for what the car actually is. More on that later. This thing's got 38,000 miles on it. The engine in the back, it weighs like 2,700 pounds. It doesn't make a whole lot of horsepower, but it's okay because the car doesn't weigh that much. So this thing isn't like a speed demon car, but it has enough power that it'll actually move and you won't really want more. This example is a 5-speed manual. The only options for these were automatic or manual, and then gray or black interior. And then as time went on in production, there were small differences. This is an 81, so technically there were two different hoods. There was a hood where you had access to the gas cap, more on that later, and there were later versions didn't have this crease in the hood. But let me show you the gas cap, because that was one of the most interesting gas station fill-ups I've ever had. A very unique piece of this vehicle is the gull-wing doors. They don't open up like a normal vehicle, you'll see. Reach down here. Super cool. And it's even got these lights, which I thought were really neat. The front has orange, and then the back has red. So to put gas in this vehicle, it's in the front. It's not in the back. There's nothing on the outside here. Before we pop that trunk, this interior is in such good shape. It's beautiful in here. The only modification is a Pioneer stereo from the early 90s, which honestly, it looks like it was meant to be. But let me show you where the gas cap is. So down here, there's a lever. Boop. That'll get us access. You can put some luggage in here. It's not very deep. But here is the gas cap. And so early models of the DeLorean, there actually was a cutout in the hood so that you could not have to pop the hood to put gas in it. But this one's kind of quirky that you have to pop the hood to put gas in it. So when I filled this up with gas after Cars and Coffee we took it to, I had so many people stop by and wanted to get photos with the car, and honestly, since this car was kind of sitting around for a while, I was totally happy to share it. But just looking in here, like it's like a brand new vehicle. It's so clean. The spare tires under here. Nothing really else to see here. There's like brake fluid and such, but even with the light that works, super cool. Like I mentioned, this interior is very, very clean. It's got the manual transmission. It's the gray interior. Like some of these, you'll see the headline is peeling and stuff like that, and like sort of rust issues. This thing is super clean, and that's why we wanted to get it. Looking at the VIN and stuff, this was made in October of '81, so later version of the first year that it was made. Like I mentioned, this thing is incredible to look at. And then the engine's in the back. It's got the cool DMC plate. It's kind of quirky. You've got these like louvered hood with struts. And then if you want to look at the engine, there's another piece here, but you have to, again, from the inside, find a lever that's deep down, way down in that cave. Pop it, which gives you access. Many of DeLorean owners will mention, and how I found out firsthand, the way that this gets held up is so dinky. This little thing right here, you just gotta, my head's literally holding this up. You gotta slide it in there, and then this thing just rests, but it's like a flapping bird. It's pretty sketch. Apparently someone makes a piece that bolts on here so you can hook it there. Edges in the back, it looks kind of neat, but it's no horsepower monster at all. Quirky thing about this is it uses mechanical fuel injection. It's like a distributor, but it sends fuel through fuel lines there. Pretty neat. What a bizarre, cool, neat car. One of my favorite things about this car is actually the seating position. It sits so low, and if you're a tall fella, like, you're not fitting in here. I'm 6 foot, and I would say I'm at the borderline of fitting in here somewhat comfortably. The headliner has a pocket for your head to sit in, so let me demonstrate this. Got these straps to close it. So I fit in here okay. Once I adjusted the seat back, it felt a lot better, but when I first got this, the seat was forward. I was up in here, I couldn't really see anything, but once you're in here, it's a really cool cockpit. And surprisingly, like, it's hard to see out the front a little bit, but there's no real blind spots because you've got these side windows back in here, so you can see very well out of this car. It's a crazy looking view. Barely see over the corner, and then if you want to wind down the windows to wave at people, you've got this small valet window. So this whole window up here stays stationary. This small window will come down. It's just big enough to put your hand through. And my particular car that actually has this weird little cover, which someone made to protect the buttons. But windows down, defrost, nothing crazy. No one's ever put a cigarette in here as far as I can tell. Like the shift knob, it's not very engaging. It's not like precise or anything like that. It feels mechanical, which is neat. The gearing of the vehicle is very separated. So like first to second, it bogs down, but that's just the gear ratios. And all this is like very, very clean. I'm super lucky to be able to own something in this nice condition. Glove box, light, everything works. Super cool. So like most vehicles, nothing's perfect, so I'm gonna go over some small pros and cons of this vehicle. So the pros, this is the most like attention-getting vehicle I've ever owned. So if you don't like that, it's not good, but if you like that, it's great. Ferraris are cool, but like there's certain people that like that. This DeLorean, you got car people, movie people, nerds, everyone loves you. I can't tell you how much positive reaction you get driving this down the road. Everyone's giving you a thumbs up, everyone's waving. Like I mentioned, when I got gas in this, I was flocked by people just coming over saying, hey, I've never seen one of these before, can I take a look? It's unreal how many people like this vehicle. The other piece, another pro, this is really a piece of art. Like this vehicle, just looking at it makes me happy, hopefully you guys too. It's the fine line between a vehicle and like a piece of art. And all the backstory about DeLorean and the whole process of making this vehicle and its history, it's really fascinating. It's a piece of history, it's a piece of art, it's super cool. And like I mentioned, the seating position, I actually really like the seating position. Even though it's low, it feels great. It makes you feel like you're on top of the world. You can listen to 80s music in this car and feel perfect. Every time I drove it, I listened to 80s radio in this thing. So those are some of the pros. Here's some of the cons. Driving this vehicle, I'm probably gonna get potatoes and tomatoes thrown at me, but I don't like driving this car, and It's just because it's early 80s, it's not very engaging to drive. I think my perspective would be changed on how it drives if it was cheaper, but this is not a cheap vehicle anymore. For the money, there are a lot better driving experiences, but that's not what you're buying this car. You're buying it for the piece of art, for the nostalgia, to look at it. I can get past that. Another con, I guess like what makes this vehicle is the looks of it. Driving this car is petrified. Like, it's not easy to refinish stainless steel if it gets a dent or if it gets scratched. It's kind of a tough process to fix it. You can do paintless dent removal. If you get anything out of like a scratch, you have to regrain it, which is like sanding it on like a belt sander, and professionals come and do that. It's a lot of work. It's a little nerve-wracking owning it, knowing that you don't want to screw it up, because that's literally what makes this vehicle, is its looks. So I'll throw up a clip of me driving this vehicle. It actually goes down the highway pretty nicely, doing 65, 70. That was a like maiden voyage. It was kind of nerve-wracking to drive, but it drove great. This is a one-of-one video. As of this video, this vehicle is actually sold. So I bought this to kind of check off the list, to experience it. I got it for a good deal, so my exit plan was to just enjoy it, have fun, and then send it on down the road. So I really hope the new owner really enjoys this. If you guys want to be in the loop with this, I'll do a better job of posting more frequently and give you guys a heads up first. So let me know in the comments if you want a heads up on some of these things. The reason I'm selling it is this is a very expensive vehicle, and the plan is that some of the proceeds from selling this vehicle, we can actually have some projects back in the garage and actually share the documentation of that. So I'm really excited for that, but I'm sad to see it go, but I'm super glad I had the opportunity to own it. I feel like it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's my experience with DeLorean. Hopefully you guys get some information out of this. If you're wanting to try and own one yourself, see if you can find someone to like experience it firsthand, because it's been an emotional roller coaster of my expectations of this vehicle, to having only ever seen one in my life before owning this, and then driving it. It's very different perspectives, good and bad. So if you can, see if you can meet up with like a DeLorean group and check one out. But if you just like DeLoreans and want to watch this video, here she is. I love looking at this car, and hopefully you can see one in public as well. That's all I've got. I've got more car videos coming. Really excited about that. Sad to see it go, but excited for more car videos. So drop a comment if you got any questions about it. Happy to answer them, but that's all I got. Catch you guys later. Peace out.